Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous Hour. My name's Dave, forever an alcoholic. Just start again, Billy. We do it every week. A big thanks to yourself and to everybody at the radio to letting us come here again and raise the awareness of AA.
It's a pleasure.
We're shortly going to be introducing one of our members who are going to share their story with us. But before I do that, I'd like to ask Dec to read our preamble, which is something that we use at the start of every meeting, which tells you very simply what AA is, what it does, and what it doesn't do. Over to you, Dec.
Thanks, Dave. My name's Dec and I'm an alcoholic. This is the AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
That's great, Dec. Thanks for that. Could I now get our guests to introduce themselves today, please?
Hi, my name's Suki and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Suki. Welcome, and thanks ever so much for coming along today to share your experience of strength and hope with us. Can I ask you to start off by giving us some idea about your background, where you're from and your childhood, etc.?
Yeah. Well, I was born and brought up in Dudley.
Dudley?
That's in the Black Country.
That is, yeah.
And Sedgley's, because you had a guest in it. Yeah, definitely.
And I'm the oldest of 5. My dad's a migrant. He came from India, and my dad's Indian. Born and brought up in India. He came over here and married my mum. My dad was about 24, 25, and my mum was 17. They had an arranged marriage, so they never knew each other, never really met each other, and that's the way it was. That's the way we did things. I'm born a Sikh, quite a traditional family, and so my mum had me. I'm the oldest, so my mum had me when she was 18, and then I have 3 sisters, which were like 2.5 years between us, 3 years between us, and then pretty normal childhood growing up. It was traditional, and my grandma lived with us as well. So I had it was kind of like, I had the 2 kind of personalities, if you like. I was 2 people from a very young age. As a person, I was at school, around my friends, and then I was the person I was at home, and that was more like, traditional. We were taught how to be a good housewife, and how you got to be the things that you need to do to become a successful and a good Indian woman. So it was like felt like I was 2 people really. And that was fine. I went along with it. Education was very important in my household. My dad was really big on education. He came from a really poor background, didn't have a lot of money, and he was a very smart man, but he never had the opportunities to kind of go anywhere with it. He worked in a foundry. His whole time he's been here, he worked in a foundry, taxi driver, and just to make ends meet. And my mum was the same. She never got her GCSEs, being married really young, and she, but they worked really, really hard, worked 2-3 jobs, so we never really used to see them. My grandma brought us up really, but we had a secure home, felt like I did have a secure upbringing. There was always food, I had clothes, it was warm, I had all my basic needs were met, and looking back now, I know I was loved. I know I was loved, but I didn't feel it. That's always been my battle, is knowing and feeling. But then I got married at, I had an arranged marriage as well. I was an introduction. It was I got to speak to him, and I got married at 2 weeks after my 19th birthday. So my dad was very strict. he didn't used to let me go out anywhere, you know. Things like I had to cover up, I couldn't cut my hair, and it was more about the community we lived in. What will society think? What will people think? And also being the oldest of 4 girls, you know, it was I felt a lot of pressure, you know, because if I misbehaved, it could also impact on my sisters in the future, you know, and it could impact on their, you know, who they get married to and what families they go to and things like that. So it's just like it just felt a lot of pressure. So at 18, when I met this man through family, it was an introduction, and I just, you know what, I wanted to just leave. I just wanted to be free, and I thought, my dad always used to say, when you live under my roof, you follow my rules.
My rules, yeah.
But when you get married, you can do what you want. So I thought, oh, great. So obviously I was speaking to this man, and I'm like, this is going to be brilliant. You know, I can do what I want. I can be free. I can cut my hair. I can wear what I want. I can go where I want. But I didn't think about it. I was only 18, you know, and it was also like just kind of, I wanted something more. I just wanted something else. I felt quite trapped, you know. So I got married at 19, and yeah, it was an experience. And, you know, I very quickly found that I can't do whatever I want, and I can't go wherever I want. And, you know, because I went to another family, and there was, you know, there was kind of rules and regulations there as well. And, you know, that's just the way it was. Nobody was a bad person in any of it. That's just the way they just taught me what they knew. Sure. And we kind of you just kind of conform and just, and try and do the best that you can. And that's what I did, you know. So, and I went on, and I went to university. It was really important for my dad that we study. I went to university. I got a degree. I mean, my drinking started around. I think I had my first drink around 16. But to be honest, I'm one of the few that cannot remember my first drink. I cannot remember when I had it, where I had it. But it was around 16 was when I started drinking.
Was your mum and dad drinkers?
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, if anybody knows about the Sikh culture...
I know it's quite a big drinking culture.
It's a big drinking culture, but for men, I mean, it's changed now, but men, yes, you know, that's what men did. My dad used to work in a foundry, so it was always like go to the pub after and have 6 pints of beer, and it wasn't a big deal. It was kind of like they had to work a hot job, so it's kind of what they did. And then bring his friends back, and they drink at home, and a lot of spirits, whiskey, you know, Bacardi, vodka, the hard stuff. So, yeah, from a very young age, alcohol was always present in my life. My dad's family is also, there's alcoholism there. But the women didn't used to drink. No. So.
Is that a cultural...
yeah, it was. It's changed now. Like I say, it's more socially acceptable, but it wasn't socially acceptable then. Like, I don't remember my mom and the women never used to really drink. Right. It was a typical Indian household, really, where the women and the kids used to be in the kitchen area, and the men used to be in the best room, you know, that no one goes into, and you take the food to them and you take the drinks to them, and they were kind of taken care of.
Yeah. So you had your first drink, you think, round about 16? You can't remember that?
Yeah, when I went to college. So I went to Halzo in college, and I had a bit of freedom. So I was like, because my school was literally round the corner from my home, and as I said, my dad was very strict, and my grandma was very present in our lives. So we used to come home for lunch, and she'd know, and she'd report back to my dad everything. Oh, they came home at this time today, you know. They didn't wash the dishes, and they didn't do this, you know. So like, I had tabs on me all the time. But at 16 at college, you kind of used to have days off. So I got this newfound freedom. I was catching the bus, and I found the college I could go to furthest away, which was Halzoe. And I kind of life started for me there. And that's when I did have my first drink around that. But again, I can't remember it. No.
How did that progress then over the
again, you know what, it wasn't an issue. I'd say from 16 to about 23, it didn't really cause any problems in terms of my day-to-day living. So I was still going to college, I still went to uni, I was conforming, I was, you know, being trying to be the best daughter-in-law, the best daughter, the best sister, the best, just set a good example. Like was mentioned about being that social chameleon, that's one thing I've always been good at, is knowing what you want. So I'll be who you want,
What you want me to do.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't really an issue till I got about 23 when I had my son.
Right. And how did that progress then?
I mean, I was drinking before that, so rather than the external stuff was fine, but it was more that there was an internal struggle going on around that time. So was feeling inside something wasn't right.
With yourself?
Yes. I just was feeling unhappy, and there was no reason really for me to be unhappy, because I had everything that I thought I needed at a good age to be on the way to happiness, on the way to success,
Yeah.
So when I fell pregnant with my son at that time, I remember I was very low in mood, and I was very unhappy. I felt very unhappy in myself. So I'd say thereabouts internally it was going on, and then it escalated from there, and it was a very quick progression to when I stopped.
Right. And were you drinking with friends at college and that?
Yes, at college it was, and it changed. So my drinking did change. At college it was all sessioning, in the day, and then going home drunk and cooking the dinner and pretending to be sober and say, Dad, I'm ill, I've got to go to bed. So it was very fun. I had loads of fun, loved it, absolutely loved it. Loved my experiences with alcohol when I was at college, and through to university. But I'd say this is where I say it turned around my early 20s.
Yeah.
And then it was alone.
So were you drinking more than your friends then? Did you realise that? Or
Yes. Again, it wasn't very noticeable when you're at college, and I think, you're at that age and everybody's drinking.
It's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah,
College,
it's what you do.
Yeah.
But I'd say it was around my early 20s. So drinking, we used to, all my sisters and my sister-in-laws, we used to get together on a Friday evening, hide the bottle in the cupboard so the parents couldn't see, run up, have a few drinks. And I remember I used to be always the one who'd finish it. I'd always be the one kind of thinking, when we having the next one, or pouring the next one.
Yeah. And what sort of issues did that create for you then when you started drinking at that level?
Personally, I just kind of started to, my life started to subtly, again, it was quite subtle, it started to revolve around the alcohol. It was kind of like if I was planning on doing things, it was kind of like, have I got that bottle of wine to take with me, or have I got it for when I get back? I remember I used to go and visit my parents, and when I got married, I moved to Wolverhampton. So I used to come and see my parents in Dudley, and I'd have to leave before the corner shop was going to close if I had no alcohol. So I'd be strapping the kids in the car quickly because I have to get to that shop. And having that anxiety, starting to feel and be aware of it.
Yeah. It's just got to be there, hasn't it? Got to have that extra bit just in case. You run out. Yeah. So, did that cause issues with your relationship, or?
So, I'd say there was issues in my relationship anyway, and now looking back, obviously I'm the problem, right? So, I was 50% of that, but it was. It did cause issues in my relationship, but I wouldn't say in terms of doing what I needed to do. So I was still what they call functioning. I was still doing everything I needed to do, but I just wasn't doing it very well anymore. The kind of quality of it slipped, if you like. Yeah.
I think it does. I mean, I think you're obviously a functioning alcoholic, as we call them, and we go through it, functioning as normal people. But we're not really, are we? It sort of gradually goes.
Far from it.
So, had you ever? I mean, did you come to the stage where you realised you were drinking more than your friends, or drinking more than what you would have liked to have drunk?
Yes. I think I did. I realised that, and my family realised it as well. My sisters. I wouldn't say my friends as such, but my sisters. I used to, my drinking was a bit different as I got older because I was married. As I said, I didn't really used to go out anywhere, so it was more like we used to get together at each other's houses and drink. But like I said, I'd always be the one who was going to finish it. I'd always be the one going, get another one just in case. I'd always be the one. And I remember I'd always be the one kind of keeping an eye on it to make sure I took some away. So that started to happen, so I could take it away into my room to finish off by myself. You know, so kind of that greed.
Yeah.
You know, feeling quite greedy with it.
Yeah, I think we tend to, certainly for me, if ever I went out with socially or was drinking at home, I had to control the booze. I poured the wine. I was the one in control, because that way you can just help yourself to.
Yeah, and again, pre-drinking as well.
Yeah.
So if we're going out, or like when my husband would be coming home from work, and you know he loved a drink as well. He still does. And I'd say, oh, bring a bottle of wine, but I'd already had a bottle of wine before he got home.
Yeah.
So then I'd have another bottle of wine for after, just in case. You know.
Yeah. Okay. And had you ever got to the stage where you thought, I need to do something about this? I need to get some help, or I need to try and cut down or control it? Or?
Yes. I'd say when I got pregnant.
Right.
So I say he wasn't planned. But subconsciously on some level now, when I look back after learning everything I've learned about myself, I think on a subconscious level he probably was, because I knew alcohol was becoming an issue for me, and I didn't think I'd be able to stop without a reason to, you know. So and to change my marriage and to fix everything. So I think I got pregnant. I'd had TB, so I was very poorly, and I got pregnant as well, because you know that's what I do. And and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to drink now, because I've got this baby inside me, this innocent baby that I loved straight away, that this is going to change me. And I'd love to say that it did, but it didn't. You know, I still had to drink throughout that pregnancy.
Okay. I think we're ready for your first record now, Suki.
Yeah. It's 2 Coldplay records. So, is it with? I mean, this is a question really. Is it music? Is it the? It's not necessarily because it's Coldplay. Is it because it's the song?
Yes, this one, Fix You, I think it is my transition when I came into AA, really, and I just love it. Yeah.
Let's listen to this Coldplay.
When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in reverse, and the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. And high up above or down below, when you're too loved to let it go, but if you never try you'll never know just what you were. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will lights will guide you home, and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
What an amazing audience. Thank you so much. Thanks for sitting in the back up there, everybody. And thanks for giving us that amazing performance to this too. Goodbye and good night.
The best in news, views and debate. The best in local music and sport. Black Country Radio. It's all about you.
Thanks for that, Billy. Nice choice of song, Suki. So before we did that, you were telling us that you were pregnant with your son, and that was when you felt you needed to start controlling your drinking.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a lot of shame around that when I thought, yeah, I'm going to just stop drinking. And I think that's when I realised I had the problem, because up until that point, I'd never really tried to stop. Because again, like I said, I was functioning. It didn't affect my life. I was still going to uni. I still did my job. The house was clean. I did everything that I thought I needed to do. But when I tried to stop and I couldn't, being pregnant, you know, and that was when the shame and the self-loathing and the low self, everything just kind of boom.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it just.
I suppose in the back of the mind, there's that thing with drinking and pregnancy that it can potentially affect.
And I justify it, I justify it. I'd say back in the day, they didn't used to say that. Back in the day, pregnant women used to smoke and drink and everything.
Yeah.
And I was fine. My mum never followed a strict diet or anything. So I justified it, and I carried on.
Yeah. So when did you get to the stage where you thought, I need some help now, where you hit your rock bottom, if you like?
My rock bottom. So obviously I had another 2 children after that.
And were you still drinking throughout that?
So the first one, thank God, they're all healthy and they're fine. Thank God, despite my behaviour. But yeah, I got pregnant within 3 months again of having my son, and I thought, it'll be a bit different second time round. I'm a slow learner, so I thought it's going to be different this time. And you know what? I remember me and my husband had been going through, a lot in our relationship. The alcohol played a big part in that as well. And we'd gone away on a make or break holiday, and I was pregnant. And I remember being in the bathroom and sneaking a can of beer, strong beer, sitting in the bath and thinking, I shouldn't do this. And I was pregnant, and I was sipping it, trying to sip it, drink it, and I just couldn't keep it down. And I was just volatile vomiting, and I just could not keep the alcohol down throughout that pregnancy. But it wasn't for want of trying, no. And again, that self-loathing and that shame and that, just being a mom and all of that just got worse. Yeah. And then I got pregnant again. Yeah. Thought third time, lucky. And, again, I drank through that pregnancy as well. And I think it took me 3 tries to figure out, right, okay, maybe I have a problem and, I really need to do something about this.
Yeah. And did you try any of the other sort of people that try and get you to cut down, Aquarius or anything like that?
No, I didn't try any Aquarius or anything like that. I did it by myself. So I did try by myself, and I went through stints of where I do 4 weeks, 2 weeks, a week.
So it's purely on willpower. You just stopped.
Purely on willpower, and it was torture.
Yeah,
it was absolute torture. But I was able to do it because I'd set myself a limit of 4 weeks, and I remember doing that 4 weeks and just feeling so proud of myself and celebrating with 4 weeks of alcohol in one night. I'm back to square one.
Yeah, to make up the. So what finally got you through the doors of AA then?
So I'd gone on a hen do for my sister's wedding, before my sister's wedding, and it was like, obviously it's a hen do, you get drunk, and I was getting drunk, and I was just drunker than everybody else, and I created scenes, and I was just so low. Nobody wanted to be around me. I think everybody just tolerated me at that point, and I think that was the beginning of the end. So I came back, And I thought, I need to do something about this. But see, the denial was still so strong. Is I thought, let me have a look online, found AA online, did the questions, and I thought, maybe. Made a couple of phone calls. I tried to get her to help me outside of the room, since I don't want to go to a meeting, but she wouldn't help me, and I was really annoyed with her for that. But she told me that you need to come to a meeting because the power's in the rooms, and I just thought, no, I don't need that. Picked up a drink again, and then I thought, right, I need to go because I need to stop drinking because my sister's wedding was fast approaching. So I was like, I need to stop drinking to prove to everybody I don't have a problem. I mean, now looking back, you think, if you don't have a problem, you just stop drinking. You know, you don't
Simple logic.
You don't find an AA meeting, you know, to prove to everyone you don't have a problem. So yeah, that was the beginning of the end. And then I done 11 days. I came to 3 meetings. I did get to a meeting, and I didn't want to be there, but I could straight away, the similarities hit me. And it wasn't the things that people did, because at my first meeting, people talked about rehab, and they talked about being losing their kids and social services and all of this stuff, police being involved. None of that had happened to me, so I couldn't relate to them things, but it was the feelings. You know, people spoke about this deep loneliness, just feeling like nobody knows what it's like to be them, feeling low, feeling scum, feeling dirty, feeling just like you just don't want to get up in the morning, you know. So I could relate to them feelings. So I did 11 days, and I had all the answers, and then I drank the night before my sister's wedding. I picked up a drink because she said something I didn't like, and I couldn't stop. And it was the night before, and if I saw my kids, I would have put them in the car, but thank God I didn't see them, and I crashed my car that night. It was all blackout. Came to the next morning, and I had to go to this wedding, and the shame. And obviously it's an Indian family. I had to be at the wedding. They couldn't not have me there, because what will people say? A lot of my family had seen what had gone on the night before. I'd gone missing the whole night, but it was all about me. You know, it was all about me, and that was when I knew that I am powerless.
Powerless over it.
It was the worst day of my life, but the best day of my life. You know.
Usually is, isn't it?
And then I came, and then I drank on that. That was on the Friday night, and then I drank on the Saturday night, and the Sunday, and the Monday, and the Tuesday. I remember saying on the Tuesday, getting up, taking the kids, getting their uniforms, planning the day, because I thought, I'm going to the meeting on Wednesday. I am not going to drink. I'm spilt everything on the Tuesday morning, all my alcohol, everything. That's it. I'm going back on Wednesday. And on the way back from town, my husband said, should we go for a pub meal, feed the kids? And I went, yeah, all right then. And in my head, I'm still thinking, I'll have a coffee. Get in there. Do you want a glass of wine? Make it a large. And again, that was a Tuesday night, you know. So it just reaffirmed, I am so powerless over this. And I came back in on the Wednesday, and I've stayed since.
Wow. And can you tell us how long it is since your last drink?
I was 13 years on the 1st of September.
Wow.
Well done.
Fantastic. Well done. Wow.
And it was a really big milestone for me, because I worked it out, and I've actually been sober longer than I was drinking now. So
that's quite an achievement. Quite an achievement. Just one day at a time.
Just one day at a time.
Yeah, that's how it is. And how did you find AA in terms of, you know, how it works for you?
It's the best thing I ever did. I think I had all these preconceptions, like they've, you know, has been talked about, and I think the meetings being in churches, a lot of the meeting. My first meeting was at Darlington Street in Wolverhampton, a Methodist church, and the first lady and the second lady I spoke to, they were white, and I was Indian, so that was a bit of a barrier for me, a bit of a challenge for me, I think, initially, because I thought, it's in a church. I'm not a Christian. These people aren't going to get me. They're not going to get my culture. They're not going to get my upbringing, because I was different, right? Because we're all different. You know, it's like, you don't understand because I'm different to you. So I think that was a bit of a challenge. But actually, when I got to the meeting, and it was fear, a lot of fear, because I was so scared of anybody knowing, because I didn't want to bring shame on my family. You know, shame is a big thing, and I'm the oldest, and I had all of this, you know, I had to kind of show this persona that I'm in control and I'm a good mom and I'm a good wife, and you know, going to an AA meeting and saying this is what I've done isn't that, and every single there was, and I, particularly about Asian Indian men, to be honest, judgment. I was scared of that judgment, and at my first meeting, every Indian man that was in AA at the time around locally walked into that meeting. Wow. So it just kind of, I'd say that was a God moment. And they made me feel so welcome. And you know, and I knew I had no choice. I knew at this point, when I came back after that stint, I knew I had no choice. There was nowhere else for me to go.
And I think this, you know, I've had friends over the years who have said, oh, I'm not going to go locally to a meeting because I don't want people to see me coming out of an AA meeting. So they all know you're the town drunk. So the shame is that you don't do anything about it. There's absolutely no shame whatsoever in going to an AA meeting because you're doing something about your illness. And that's the key, isn't it? And, you know, that you mentioned there about, you know, people who had lost their jobs, their homes, you know, I was like you. I was a functioning alcoholic. Never lost anything like that materialistically. But they said to me in AA when I first came in, not yet. Yeah. If you carry on drinking the way that you do, you will do.
I think I'd lost the most important part of me, that I'd lost my mind. You know, I'd lost my mind. I had no soul. There was just nothing there. You know, so if I didn't have my mind, nothing else mattered. I had everything, but I had everything I needed and wanted, but it didn't make me happy. I still had to drink, you know, so.
But I think you lose your self-respect and your dignity and your pride and
everything.
All of that, don't you, really? And that's that takes a lot of getting back.
I mean, a lot of people used to say to me, and my sisters used to say, like, what is wrong with you? You've got these beautiful children. And I have. You know, you've got an amazing life. You don't want for anything. Why do you drink? And I was like, I just didn't know. I said, I don't know.
No, that's it. It's not just about that, is it? It's, you know, it's the way we are. It's that insanity that's within us that tells us we can and we can't. So how was your life change then in sobriety? So you eventually got in the meetings and you started going on a regular basis. You felt welcome. How has life changed since?
You know what? Everything that I lost, I got back and more. And when I say materially, you know, just everything's changed. Everything has changed in my life since I came into AA. It talks about a life beyond your wildest dreams, and I can truly, honestly say that I have that today. You know, before, and it's all about perception. It's all about how I look at the world. It's all about how I see things, because my default was looking at what I didn't have. It was never looking at what I had. It was always blame. It was always that victim mentality. It was always poor me. And it was never having that gratitude or being grateful for the life that I have, you know. And I think that's what AA taught me through the 12 steps. And I think AA taught me that alcohol is not my problem. You know, alcohol is just a symptom. I didn't understand that. It took me a while to get my head around that, and I thought I was quite intelligent. But, you know, and because I wasn't taught about life, you know, they don't teach you that at school. They don't teach you. I mean, it's getting better, but I wasn't taught about how to live life. I wasn't taught about how to manage my emotions. And that's why I drank, because I could not deal with my emotions. I could not deal with life on life's terms. I couldn't do it. I didn't know how people did it. To me, they're like aliens, you know, and AA has taught me how to live in this world without, you know, I say, alcohol for me was like my armor. It was like my coat. So I'd drink and it'd make me feel comfortable in the world, because I was such a socially awkward person, even though nobody would know it because I'm such a good actress, you know, but it worked for me until it stopped working. So when I found AA taught me how to get that warm coat and face the world and not have to drink
Without
Right.
alcohol.
without
Yeah,
alcohol.
that's key. That's
Yeah.
key. And you mentioned gratitude there. That for me was key, because it's always that poor me, isn't it? You know, I can't do this, can't do that. But we need to be grateful for what we have got.
Well, they say, don't they?
yeah.
Grateful
Yeah.
alcoholic won't drink.
No,
You know,
absolutely.
if you're grateful,
Yeah,
you're not going to
yeah,
drink.
no.
I always drank because I was ungrateful for
Yeah.
everything that I had.
Yeah.
And people used to show me, but I couldn't see it.
No,
I couldn't
no.
see it. I couldn't feel it.
No.
And this is where they say it's a disease of denial, you know. It's the only illness that I tell you haven't got it.
That's it.
You know, and AA has taught me that it's a me problem, and as scary as it is having to look at yourself, you know, it's so empowering because I can do something about me. I can't do something about anything about you or that situation or what's going on in the world. I can't do anything about the cost of living crisis or anything really. What can I do? But I can do something about me and how I deal with it.
Sure.
Because what I do impacts on people around me as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I can do it two ways. I have a choice today. I never had that choice when I was drinking.
No, you just got to drink. And I think the beauty is, you know, we say there's a bit of a quip in AA that the beauty is when you get sober, you get your emotions back. And the bad thing is when you get sober, you get your emotions back. But I think we're more aware. You know, there's mornings I'm sure you wake up and maybe your head's not quite right, but you're aware of that and you can do something about that in your day going forward. You can make your mind up to be happy that day and take steps to put that right.
And like I said about, you know, the mind, I'd lost my mind when I came into AA, so it didn't matter what I had because I didn't have my mind to be able to do anything. So I had to get my mind back, and that's what I have today.
Yeah,
No?
that's good. Brilliant. I think we're ready for your next record, Suki.
Soul classic. Benny King, Stand By Me. It speaks for itself, I suppose, doesn't it? Yeah.
Definitely my AA song.
Great stuff.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Whoa, stand by me. Whoa, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Whoa, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? stand by me. Ooh, just as long as you stand by me.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. You can listen to that song on our acoustic covers playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. Just use the link in the description or click one of the on-screen cards. Thanks
You're
again.
listening to Black Country Extra.
Don't forget about the
I'll
meeting.
just say that was me making a faux pas there. It wasn't actually Benny King, was it? It was a cover version, but it was a great version anyway. Yeah.
Oh, it was a lovely version.
Live and learn, live and learn. So have you done your homework, Declan? You've got to do your bit now.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Here we go.
On you go, Dick. We're on.
Oh, we're on.
Yeah, we're on, yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm very relaxed, as you can tell. So, I just want to let people know there are various ways to contact us on AA. Probably the best way to do it would be to go to the national website, which is alcoholics-anonymous.org.uk. And that takes you to the homepage where you've got all the information. You've got the free phone number, which is 0800 9177 650. That's 0800 9177 650. You can always drop an email as well to help@aamail.org. There's also a find a meeting section where if you just type in your town or your postcode, it will give you all the nearest meetings to that area. And there is one more, which is a live chat. So if you're not in the mood to talk to anybody verbally, you can just type in where you are in your world at the moment and somebody will help you. So anybody struggling with any issues with alcoholism, please, or with alcohol, I should say, please give us a shout. Thank you.
Well done, Deg. Thanks for that. And thanks for that song. So that was a nice version of it. That I haven't heard that one before, but it was lovely. Okay, you've told us you've been around 13 years,
Yes.
which is fabulous.
Yeah.
I imagine in that time you've seen some changes in AA in the way in which it's structured, the way it works, or
Yeah. I think every meeting's different, isn't it?
yeah.
So every meeting's different, and it's just, it's just such an amazing place to be. That's all I can say, and I think we've just got so much more awareness now to when I first came in. I remember, like, obviously me being from an Indian background, there wasn't a lot of Indian women around at that time, and I remember that feeling like that was a bit of a challenge for me, finding somebody who could kind of work with me through that stuff. And we've, done a lot of work around that within AA as well. There's some like different Punjabi speaker meetings and things like that. So a lot of stuff is happening, and I think technology is amazing. With AA, you got shares online. I remember when I first came in, my children were really little, and I didn't tell anybody what I was in AA for about 6 months and 13 days. Not that I was counting. And I couldn't get to meetings every day. I could not get to meetings every day, but I'm so lucky that we've got a phone. I was so lucky I had numbers. There was the YouTube, I used to listen to Bob D and all of these step shares online, and that kept me sober, and I had the big book as well, and the accessibility. So I was really lucky that I had those meetings on my doorstep. There's loads of meetings everywhere.
How did you cope with lockdown? Because all of our live meetings closed down. How did you find that?
Do you know what? I went on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I met people, some amazing people on Zoom that still haven't seen in real life.
No.
But we talk on the phone.
Yeah, all over the world.
Yeah, and because that was such a difficult time, particularly like in my case, my dad passed away during COVID, and it was a really, really, really painful time. And meeting these people through Zoom and being able to share and just have that comfort of knowing that they're there, that it was amazing. I couldn't have done it if it wasn't.
No, I actually look back over that time and think, albeit the live meetings, there's no substitute for the live meetings, but I actually think in that time on Zoom, AA got stronger.
Yes.
We've got a number of people in that have done shares here. We call them our Zoom babies.
Yes.
That came in last year and they got sober on Zoom. That was their first meetings, was on Zoom, and then obviously when we got back to live meetings, they've started to come and they work hard at the sobriety. They do service, you know, they do everything that's suggested, and it's beautiful to see.
It's been it was really good actually, because it gave my children a bit more of an insight as well. So there's some open meetings, you know, where my children were able to see what's going on as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've got teenagers, so I'm not going to get them. It's difficult to get them to go to an Al-Anon meeting or AA meetings, but they were able to get a bit of an insight, and they kind of saw, because I brought AA into the home a bit more. You know, where I'll be like, right, I'm going on a meeting now, and so I felt like I brought it into my home more.
And do you talk to them about your alcoholism in terms of your past?
I mean, my sons, they're absolutely amazing, considering, you know, I talk to them, they've been to conventions with me, they know all my AA family, people that I'm so close to, they know them. We've been camping together, we've been on holiday together, you know, and they ask questions, and they've seen, I mean, they were very young when I stopped drinking, and to be honest, they don't really remember much of my drinking. That was my cross to bear, you know, me knowing I wasn't a mother to them, I was just a caretaker, but if they can tell, they'll be like, Mum, are you going to a meeting? You know, I think you need to go to a meeting. Go. You know, very supportive of it.
That's
you know,
lovely.
Love my
Such a-
friends. They see what it does for us as a family. It's impacted in a positive way on all of us as a family. And I'm talking about my mom, my dad, their understanding. You know, it's been an older generation, Indian, just not quite getting it, but you know, growing to accept it, because you can't deny the change. You cannot deny the change in me. I was a nasty, bitter, angry, jealous, you know, I was a liar, I was a thief, I was just a horrible person when you put a drink in me. But actually, I'm not a horrible person. I was just an ill person, you know, and they see that now. I'm dependable, I'm respectable, I do what I say I'm going to do. You know, they can't deny it, it works.
No, that's how it works. It gets you everything back, doesn't it? It gets your family back and everything.
Even the ones you don't want back.
But I think the most importantly, it gives you back, doesn't it? You said, you know, what you lost was you. You didn't lose materialistically, but you lost you. And you get you back. You get that self-respect and that dignity and, you know, all of that sort of
fitting
stuff.
in as well. Just being part of. I always felt like I was on, you know, in a different world to them. I always felt like there was just that wall in between, and I don't feel like that today.
No, you feel good on that. So you've been around 13 years now. You're living proof that you know, you told us how your life has changed. So there's a satisfying and enjoyable life without drinking. What would you say to people maybe listening to this program and thinking, oh, I can relate to some of her drinking, and I've done this and I've behaved like that. What would you say to them to do? What would you recommend them to do?
I'd say definitely, like, what do they say, contempt prior to investigation, you know, it's been talked about as well, is that, you know, don't judge. You know, that was one of my biggest things. I was just so judgmental, I didn't even realise it. And if it works for me, it can work for anybody. That's what I'd say. I'd say definitely give it a go. What have you got to lose? You've got nothing to lose. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't work for you, you can go back out.
Pubs are still open.
Go back out and have a drink. You know, if you're not ready, you can come back, and that's the beauty of AA. Is that we have relapses, because that's what we do. We're alcoholics. We drink. You know, we have people bounce in and out the rooms. We don't want that to happen, but you'll always be welcomed.
Sure.
You know, you're always welcomed, even if you've had a drink. You know, as long as you're not. You know, you listen and keep coming back. That's the main thing I remember taking from my first meeting was where they said, keep coming back. You know, and that's the only thing that I did right, is I just didn't pick up a drink and I kept coming back. That's it. You know, and I thought at 28 years old, oh my God, why couldn't I be the 50-year-old that come in, or the 55-year-old that come in? Now I'm so grateful for that, because I restarted my whole life. Like, I have a brand new life. I remember celebrating 1 year and on my 30th at the same time. You know, I've celebrated weddings, funerals. Like, my dad passing away was the worst experience of my life, but I didn't have to take a drink, and I was there for everyone. You know, and weddings, all of that stuff that I thought, how am I going to do it? You do it a day at a time. You know, you do it a day at a time. and it works. But you've got to put the work in,
Yeah.
and you've got to want it. You've got to do it for yourself.
That's the key, I think. You've got to want it. But I think, I always say that, whatever's happening in your life, be it bereavement or whatever, we can cope with that
100%.
without picking up a drink. I was bereaved some years ago, and not once did I think, you know what, I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to press that button and have a drink. It's just never crossed my mind. And I've been able to cope with that, with my grief. And I know we've had this discussion.
Yeah.
Cope with that grief just one day at a time, and that gratitude that we go back to, for grateful for the time that you had with your dad and the life that you lived and all the good stuff, and it gets you through anything.
And if I was drinking, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have
You
happened.
that, no.
I wouldn't have looked at all the
No,
positives.
no.
Like, this world is a beautiful world.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah,
want to look at it?
Yeah.
And not drinking, working a 12-step program has taught me how to do that.
Sure.
You know?
And it's a lovely life.
It is
and
an
the
amazing
support
life.
and the fellowship that you get is, it's just unbelievable. For me, it's a huge part of my life now, and it's been miraculous. It really has. The change is just superb. So given that you've all the time you've had, you're still going to meetings, though. I mean, people say to me, why do you still have? You haven't had a drink for X amount of years. Why do you still go to those meetings? For goodness' sake, why do we still do it?
Well, I'm still crackerdoodles,
Crackadoodle Andy,
I always
mad
will
as a box
be.
of frogs.
Yeah, because again, like I said, it's not an alcohol problem. My problem is not alcohol. My problem is life.
Yeah.
My problem is dealing with life on life's terms. The simplest things that things like resentments that has been talked about. I cannot afford resentments. I can't allow people to live in my head rent free. I have to forgive it because I'm an alcoholic. I will, and things like if I'm not drinking and I don't know, and I forget, I have an incredibly short memory as well. My life, it manifests in other areas of my life. So my behaviours change. I start to become selfish again. I start to become bitter, angry, jealous, nasty. Poor me, that victim mentality, because that's my default position.
Yeah.
So I have to keep coming back, so I remain in fit spiritual condition. So that I can be the best to the people around me.
Beautiful. I think we're about to come on with the last record. Suki, thank you so much for coming along. It's been absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And you've got a good message for people out there, I know.
Fabulous. Absolutely. It's lovely. It's a privilege sitting here listening to you. And what a track to go out on. What a title track. Adventure of a lifetime. A strange way to look about it, but I suppose it is, isn't it?
It is, but actually that song, my third son played that at his drum concert. And I remember that was the first time I had a feeling, just listening to him playing and thinking, oh my God, I am sober. I'm a good mum today. I'm here. Brilliant. I'm present. And it's a miracle.
Great stories. And many more to come from AA in the near future. Well, probably in the new year. Here they are, Coldplay.